What was your favorite part of the presidential debate?
When it ended? Yeah. I don't know.
Second favorite.
I think for me, it was when I realized that like this is how it was going to go. Like about like 2 minutes into the first question, I was like, "Oh hell yeah! Like this is everything I wanted it to be and more." So yeah, I was very, very excited.
I think the part that was my favorite was about like a third of the way through when I thought to myself, these people are actually going to run this entire country.
Right. One of these
at the
guys.
End of all of this. Like I was like, these are the two options, and none of them sound amazing. Great.
I think like one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most is seeing what else, because like another one of my favorite parts was when Joe Biden was like, "No, the Green New Deal. No, I hate the Green New Deal. I would never do the Green New Deal." And also like,
well, that was my favorite part because before that he said, "Listen, the Green New Deal is going to pay for itself."
Right.
And then,
I hate
Wallace was like, "Wait, sir, you support the Green New Deal?" And he's like, "No, of course not."
I also like that he's like, no, I'm gonna like add more funding to the cops. Like, don't worry about that.
I was like, so did you just say that your criticism of Donald Trump is that he somehow managed to, more than you would, defund the police?
Right.
Thanks. I was
Dude,
like, this
100%. Let's see. We got 2 more of these. Like, I want to see if Donald Trump can get Joe Biden to like look into the camera and just be like, I don't care if half of you are unemployed and sick. I'm not doing Medicare for all, and that's final. Let's like what else can Trump get Biden to say that will just like make his base miserable and depress fucking voter turnout? Let's see. We got two full debates left.
And also, what else can Trump say that is just like, wow, our president is actively and openly and unabashedly like signaling to white supremacists that they can run the table. Like,
run the table, run the polls, watch over people. This is all bad.
The Trump's army, people that they're recruiting to stand outside voting locations, that's full on.
Ballots are in the creek? Like, how many creeks are there in America?
Creekgate.
I would like to.
Creekgate.
I want to take back my favorite moment. That Creekgate was 100% my favorite moment.
They're throwing them in rivers. They're throwing them in creeks. Me and Dave and I watched it together. I remember looking at Dave and being like, they threw them into creeks. What is he fucking talking about?
And then you went off on a tangent about like how the crawdads were taking my vote.
I just feel bad for the people that they have to call in as fact checkers who have to be like, in fact, there have been no ballots found in creeks to our knowledge. Just who gets like?
His press secretary got mad because a bunch of press showed up, I think this morning or yesterday morning, and we're asking them like, what rivers and creeks have they been pulling ballots out of? Of course, this person doesn't have an answer for that question, so they just start scolding the journalists about being like shitty journalists or whatever.
It's like, oh, you don't have. It is
hilarious. Honestly, like being his press secretary would be fucking awesome. Like what a ride that must be. That must be like a nonstop adrenaline-fueled fucking roller coaster.
It's like how comedians have said, you would think that having Donald Trump as your president would be like a gold mine. But like the truth is so absurd at this point that there's almost no comedy to mine from it, right? Like, it's just like, do we just play the clip of what actually happened and laugh at it? Because it's just, this is my skit. Like, this was my bit. Right?
It's beyond satire.
I feel really bad for comedians because there's just so little to mine at this point because reality is so absurd.
Like, I saw an Onion article and I was like, that's actually, it's real. It's you can't, there is no funny anymore.
Yeah, there was a time when you could like be kind of snobby about it, right? You could be like, you shared an Onion article as if it was real. Yeah. And now I gotta be like, you should know the Onion is a satire site, but also
they're kind of telling truth.
Really similar to a CNN headline yesterday that was actually a thing that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think The Onion has gone downhill the last 4 years. Really, the only satire site that's been doing much of anything is the Hard Times.
Yeah, Hard Times, they hit it pretty hard. I like
because they're good at taking on cops really well. They did one about how like police precinct in Minneapolis involved in fire-related incident. Or fire-related burning. Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
Well, they also didn't do the things. One of the things that The Onion did, if you remember, was all the way through the Obama presidency, they kept running those articles that were like funny at the time, but now with the context we have now, it's kind of like, that kind of sucks. They kept running these articles about like Uncle Joe listening, surfs his way into a surf competition or something, or now he's like wearing a leather jacket and watching his Firebird Pontiac 74 in the street or whatever. Like and it was like kind of funny because he was like cool Uncle Joe or whatever. And he was also kind of like
hot tub.
Because
that was awesome.
Wasn't really present as a part of the Obama administration, really, So it was always kind of like, well, what is he doing? Maybe he's building a water slide in his backyard or something.
Yeah, frankly, at this point, I blame The Onion. So
that's what I'm trying to say here is that it is The Onion's fault that Joe Biden is our whack nominee. So
and I'm still not over that Quinvegene Wallace thing. So y'all were wrong for that.
What about him?
So when Quinvegene Wallace was this like 10-year-old who was in, what was the name of the movie? But it was like Oscar nominated. And they tried this really like awful joke where they basically called her the C word and she was like 10. And I was just like, Onion, that was...
I remember that.
Right? And it was supposed to be this like tongue-in-cheek kind of thing because she's this adorable kid and of course she's not, but it was just... It was terrible. Yeah.
I was a little scared and I thought Biden did something related to her.
No.
Okay.
No.
But that was terrible.
I was just saying to The Onion, I'm still not over that. Like, you've been going downhill for a while.
Yeah. That was very bad.
Yeah, very bad. They did a very bad.
Anyway, Joe 2020.
Yeah, great. Hooray. Fucking
hooray.
No matter what, guys, 2021 is going to be off the fucking chain. Just get ready.
Or off the rails, either way.
A little bit of both.
Can we start the show?
Let's do it.
Voices, the things they said. Voices, some from those dead. All the voices heard. Voices, things we say. Voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Hello, everyone. You have Kempa.
And Skylar.
And Flo. And no Shannon.
Again, no Shannon.
Shannon, we miss you. We love you.
And we want you to stay safe. Stay sane.
All right, that's the show.
Healthy.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
For real though, everybody put your good thoughts into the air for Shannon. She's having a tough time right now, but she will come through it, emerge victorious, and return to us in hopefully short order.
Yeah. In the meantime, today we have a special guest on the podcast for the second time, our good friend Tamika L'Ecluse of the American River Flood Control District, a board member running for re-election. Tamika, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Yeah.
I'm not like this moment. I'm fine. I do have moments that I'm rubbing my head like flows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, the only thing that's kind of heartening for me is to hear that we're all kind of going through it. Because I got to tell you, waking up in October and seeing like the AQI being where it is after that, like August and September, I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to make it to the end of the day.
And remembering that in 2018, it was basically up until Thanksgiving Day that we had bad air quality because of the fires in November. So just pointing that out so that you can like
it was when it was at like 140 this morning, the AQI, I was like, this might be my last chance to go running in a long time. So I did a quick run. So I've put in 12 miles in 4 days. I think I'm good for a few days before I start going stir crazy.
Before we start seeing you doing Jane Fonda exercises in your living room, you got the hair for it. I'm just saying.
That's true. That is true.
Why do you think I grew it out? Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could be Olivia Newton-John. Let's get physical.
Yeah, I see more of like a dancer size.
Richard Simmons, right?
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, you can do Richard Simmons. Yeah.
I thought, okay.
You got a lot of angles you could come at this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could like do like a little ponytail and some tie bow, maybe.
You know what we need to see is that the man sprout and see what the progress has been in the last few months.
Yeah. Did I not share it with the group? Flo, you might have seen it.
I did.
I checked out how far back the man sprout was going.
It's like,
and it's back on the crown of my head. It's right about there.
Like this right here. This is where it is. It's like this. It's like a little sprout right back here.
It's like a little. It's like a Cindy Lou Who vibe.
Yeah.
So it's not long enough for me to go out in public with it yet. But
you said you're 2 months away from a man bun. I'm here for it.
I think so. Yeah. I'll have to trim the sides and back though. So.
Yeah. Oh no! Don't trim.
We'll figure it out.
No trim. Stay strong. Keep it pure.
It's getting mullety. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that today. What we are here to talk about is Tamika's run for re-election on the American River Flood Control District. We originally had that, we being me, originally wrote that down, American River Flood District, and I was roundly chastised by everyone because we don't want to start floods here.
Correct.
So my bad, fine.
No, it is in fact the opposite, as I understand.
Yes.
But control,
preparation.
Got it. Well, I'm glad we have an expert on today to set me straight, because I've got probably all sorts of incorrect ideas on this. Well, why don't we start first with that then, and then I want to dive a little bit into who you are and why representing folks in our region matters to you. But can you just tell us right away, what does somebody running, somebody on the board of the American River Flood Control District do? Why is this important?
Well, really, we maintain the levees. The levees are, the first stop to flood fight. So we want to make sure that the levees are intact. We want to make sure that, we're keeping a mode. We're wanting to make sure that we're filling in little holes and taking out, anything that, can compromise the slopes. We want to make sure that folks know, how they can protect their homes from flooding, where you can get sandbags, how to fill them, what to do to prepare, what to pack, in your go bag, things like that. So we just really go and make decisions to ensure that our guys can do the work that needs to be done to keep our houses and neighborhoods and homes, schools safe from flooding.
Can I ask, what are some of the things that, like common things that kind of degrade the levees, and there are things that you guys are consistently having to fix?
Well, one of the big things really is that folks cut out of the slope of the levee. So here you have your slope. I feel like I'm going to do my little bit of Christy Smith here. I keep a whiteboard because they come in handy, right?
We'll have Flo say exactly what she sees on it for our listeners.
Right? So we have our levee. Okay,
there's a levee.
You have your water.
So brown line going along the water. Okay.
It looks like a little mountain, a little levee. One side has water,
The water's not a color I'd want it to be, but I think that's just the limitation of our expo market.
That is the Sacramento River.
Sacramento River is brown.
More of a Sacramento River color than an American
gray
river.
world.
Yeah. And so, you know, when you need a flat surface on the levee, which homeowners have done, you know, years ago when they got permits to make their own changes to the levee. But also, you know, folks who are camping will need a flat surface so that they don't slide down that slope. Mm-hmm. The levee over here by my house, Arcade Creek, is like, it's really this steep. It's not as steep as the other levees. When you go to Sac State, when you go to River Park, it's not at this incline. So what you have is folks, and it's a little bit drastic, but what you have are people cutting in so that they can put their tent.
I see. Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I talk about prioritizing getting our homeless folks off the levee and getting them into a safe space, number one, here's the water, here are people, right? Folks are supposed to be on this side of the levee, on the nice flat surface. That's what we need to advocate for. And so we do talk a lot about you know, what can we do other than managing to be, well, now we're talking about it, to be better advocates for getting people housed and getting people in safe spaces.
Absolutely. So just a little background for listeners, especially if you don't live in the Sacramento region. We live in Sacramento in what is effectively just a very large valley, a very flat, long, low space. And before we had these man-made levees built in, this whole area would regularly at certain times of the year when there was lots of rain sort of flood over, and you couldn't live or build in parts of this area. And stop me if I'm wrong, Tamika, but this is my understanding historically, for long periods of time without finding an answer to that. So humans came in and decided to basically build these walls that are just, it's land really, right? I mean, it's made of soil and land that rises high up above the usual day-to-day level of the river for the times of the year, you know, November through January, February, it may probably into March, when the water is the highest and it's coming down, the snowpack is coming down from the Sierras. Exactly. And it's keeping the hundreds of thousands of people that now live on the plain safe and dry, to a point where, like, you know, levees have busted in the past here in Sacramento. We had one new governor who took a boat to the Capitol on his inauguration day because the levees had not, you know, withstood a heavy flood season. So this is a real problem in our region.
Which governor was that?
Oh, I don't know.
This is a long time ago, though.
It was a governor with a boat.
It's possible that it was Governor Brown, and it happened either recently or a very long time ago.
That's true. Yeah, Dave, that was really well said. Yeah, everything that you said was right. They are made of mounds of dirt. You might be running or biking on one that's been paved over to create a thoroughfare for recreation. That's another thing that we really want to bring awareness to. We have a lot of big trucks out there on those levees when we need to do our mowing, when we need to, do if there's any dead trees that we need to remove, or if we need to trim down the bushes so that we can be able to inspect and be able to, see if there's any damage to the levees and repair them. But it's really important when folks are out there that they watch out for the trucks. Some people will ride or they'll jog right close. Our trucks take up a good amount of space on those trails. And so we also have a responsibility to create a campaign or some sort of message to get the word out there for folks to really be safe. You know, take one earphone out when you see a truck so that you can hear if there are any warnings or if there's anything that you know, might fly up. We want to make sure that people are safe. Luckily, you know, everyone has been safe. There haven't been any injuries from bikers, you know, bikes and maintenance workers, but we don't want one. And so, you know, we're trying to figure out how we can all be good neighbors and how we can share the levees, making sure that our folks can do the work and that you folks can enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. You know, a lot of people refer to our rivers, you know, particularly the American River, which is the one that runs directly from Folsom down to Sacramento, as kind of the jewel of Sacramento. And it's this beautiful thing that we should all be able to sort of enjoy and experience together and have access to. I guess the same can go for the Sacramento River, which is much larger, which comes down directly from the north, for listeners, again, not from Sacramento. Can I just stop and answer Skylar's question? It was Governor-elect Leland Stanford in 1862 in January. He took a rowboat to his inauguration.
Wow.
So I wasn't lying. Okay. Can we just learn a little bit about you, Tamika? Like, sure. I met you, 2-3 years ago?
Yep.
You were
2018.
You were running for city council against District 5, Jay Chenier.
Yes.
And you came on the show. It was one of our first ever episodes, which is why I'm so excited to have you on now. But
I know you've grown up so much. You're little baby Kempa.
Baby Kempa.
Yeah, I have. Okay.
Nah. No, it was so great
Davis
meeting you. And, you know, and I've you know, been a fan of your show ever since, and it has been really amazing to see you guys grow. Just good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, and like, we should not even mention this without mentioning Anthony Sino, and he was the one running, producing, editing,
right.
A very creative sort of intertwining of politics, life, arts, and like just, it was a very, really, really special sort of interweaving of Sacramento issues. Ours is a little more freewheeling and I think a little more politics based in the current iteration, but I mean, it's been a fun ride all the way through. But enough about us. You know, can we hear a little bit more about Tamika, even before, you know, you and I first met? What is your connection to Sacramento? Where did you kind of pull this drive to eventually decide, like, oh, maybe I want to run for office someday?
So I was born here, Mayfair Air Force Base. I was born on Mayfair, but like raised at McClellan, sort of situation. Back when McClellan was open, we lived in the North Highlands area, and the school at the time, the big flood that we had here in Sacramento. I'm not sure if any of you were alive, but I was in elementary school and I couldn't get to school for days. The entire street couldn't get to the babysitter, couldn't get anywhere for days. And that really stuck with me. That really, I remember that well. I remember looking down the street and not being able to get to the school and just seeing all this water I'd never seen. And it was kind of scary because I also didn't know how to swim and there was all this stuff going on.
What year was this?
87? 89.
We were definitely born by
We were
then.
born.
Oh,
back
hey,
then.
hey.
Yeah, we were born. Back.
86.
Hey.
I gotta
Hey.
say, this is a refreshing change of
It's
pace,
very
though.
nice.
After the
Yeah.
sunrise people come in and
I
call
know,
us
and
old
they were
every
like,
time.
yeah,
I'm gonna
you're
stop
not-
inviting
you're not
sunrise
young.
folks
Yeah.
on, and just like only Tamika's from now.
They were like,
on.
well, obviously you old people can't figure out what's happening in the world, but we young people are ready to take on what's happening. And we were just
Really
like,
are,
oh,
though.
okay.
They
Yeah.
really are.
I was like, all right, thanks.
But
yeah, I don't
so,
disagree with them.
You know, lived in went to school in North Highlands, and then we moved to South Natomas, flood area. Even though Sacramento didn't flood a lot, our area did. And at that time, like Dave was referring to, you know, there was a moratorium on building in that area.
I lived in South Natomas around that very same time. We were neighbors.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, what school did you go to?
Stroud Elementary.
Oh, okay. I went to Jefferson after the other one flooded. So Arrowhaven and Natomas.
It drifted away. Yeah.
Jefferson and South Natomas, but still same thing, right? Azevedo, you know, you would have you know, all the little Cedro Circle. You'd have all those little streets, you know, all those little pockets to get to your neighborhood school. We would have to kind of find another route. And I also remember, you know, helping my friends' parents fill sandbags. You know, they lived along the river, and, you know, the river would rise and would come up over into the living room, and we would, you know, frantically, all the kids would come over and start filling sandbags. And I mean, this is Sacramento life, right?
Wow.
At least for me growing up. And so when the opportunity came to run for flood board, I was like, oh, let me tell my story. You know, I remember that as a kid, and I have kids now. And so what kinds of experiences do I want them to have, and how can I play a role in that, right? That's how I can serve. And that might have been what really brought me into politics in the beginning. 2012, I ran for City Charter Commission. And then 2018 for city council, been working at the neighborhood level, working with different groups of women, different groups of really dynamic folks who get things done, navigating through the city, figuring out how to navigate through the city manager's office and the you know, economic and workforce development, and trying to advocate for childcare, like all of that stuff that I like to do within my groups really prepared me for politics, and to run. I don't see myself as a politician. I see myself as a public servant, though.
So you've been in this position for how long? 2 years then?
So I was appointed. There was a woman who had stepped down for the rest of her term, and I was appointed to sit in her seat. And that was June of 2019.
Okay.
So I've been on since then. And Ray Vanderwerf is really who pushed me, really, because, you know, they say that women need sometimes be pushed to run. Even if you have ran for one office, there's oftentimes, you know, the same things you told yourself that prevented you from moving forward ahead the previous time. Those kinds of haunts come up again, and then a woman has to say, no, you are good enough, go for it. Ray was that for me. She got on the flood control board back in 2018.
I was going to say, could you tell us who she is? Yeah.
Yeah, Ray Vanderwerf. They are a board member who is a water scientist. So flood control, water scientist, makes sense.
And so Ray said, it's time to do it.
It's time.
And here you are.
Yeah, they said it's time. Yeah.
I wonder how many times people have to tell, you know, like a flow.
I was thinking about that.
A lot of times people got to tell a flow to run for something.
Look at her face. I honestly, Flo,
We
we're
love you.
we're putting it like one every 7 episodes or so now.
Yeah,
So
we used to do it
give us
every
credit for
episode, but
that.
now we really only bring it up here and
Yeah.
there.
But when you're ready, Flo, when you're ready,
You've got a whole team.
you can lean on me. I will be there for you. Hopefully, I'm not running a campaign because campaigns are a lot of work.
You all, like, I really feel like you all don't realize how much of a loose cannon I am. Like, this seems like such a good idea. And
I
you
do.
actually
I actually
realize how hard it would be, like herding cats, to get me to do this in a way that you all think is like electable. Like, I'm fun because I'm not electable. Like,
this is me trolling at this point.
what?
I know you don't want to, so I'm like,
but
I get it. That's her thing.
it's even
but like,
bigger than
I
that.
just want to annoy you even more now.
No, it's bigger than that, Dave. You firmly, like, you have to realize that I'm not a good candidate, right? Like, you have to realize that.
That's what they
it would
all
be
say.
frustrating as
That's what the best candidates always say.
What do you think Dr. Weber was saying at your age?
Did you see what Joe Biden had to go out there and say earlier this week in order to be considered electable? I can't do that. I'd have been like,
yeah, but he sucks at his job.
Let me tell you what I don't think, okay? And let me tell you how 50 Shades of Wrong this motherfucker is. Like, you don't need me on a net. Like, now nobody has anybody to vote for. The religious right is upset because I said motherfucker on national television and it wasn't bleeped. Like, this is not a good look for anybody.
It sounds to me
I'm
like
into
you're
it.
running
You got
for
my
mayor
vote
of Burlington,
immediately. You got my
Vermont
vote.
in 1970 something, you know?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The beginning of a revolution, Flo.
I so appreciate that people believe in me in a way that I just think is so far-fetched and ridiculous. And yeah, you all terrify me because I was like, I'm not a good candidate. I'm just not.
Yeah. Well, you remember when we first started the show, I was like afraid at the prospect of like Flo swearing or like her going down tangents the same way that we all were. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, she definitely doesn't want to run for office, so I should not worry about this at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, there's just too much material, and I enjoy too much the prospect of being able to say whatever the fuck I want to say.
It's
and
true.
Not have to
I want to say that so bad.
That's what I'm saying. Let me stay over here and let somebody else play that role. But you like me unhinged. That's why you like me. You don't want me to have to do candidate stuff because even though Donald Trump has everybody gassed up that you can just like be your own person, like I'm still a Black woman in America, and that's not how this shit works.
You cannot be.
So I don't get to do that, right? Like I get to be Tamika's anger translator, and that's a fun role for me. But what you don't like I get to be her anger translator. Like, let me Luther her. Like, yo, what she's trying to say is, fuck you and the clique that you claim. Fuck you. You're wrong, right? We're
gonna call on you throughout the episode as her anger translator then.
Okay, perfect.
But just know you had 1/4 of Sacramento's squad telling you that she's ready if you ever want to run for office. That's what I just heard.
That's true.
1/4 of Sacramento's squad.
There's the Sacramento squad.
Did you not see the Cap Radio piece by who wrote that one? It's their race and equity reporter.
Sarah Mises-Tan?
Sarah Mises-Tan, okay.
Sarah Mises-Tan, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So members of the squad include Tamika,
okay.
Friend of the show, Katie Valenzuela, soon to be friend of the show, who should be on a very upcoming episode, My Vang, and Ziva Creason, who I've never, I don't think, spoken with. But
I campaigned for Zima.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I campaigned for Zima and Mael in San Juan Unified School District. Yeah.
How did it feel to be told you were part of the squad?
You're the squad.
Yeah, it feels good. It's very I'm a humble person. I'm not going to say much more. I'm thankful that people are inspired by me and the girls. I'm thankful that, there's women who see a place for themselves in politics because of the squad. But there's squad goals all over Sacramento. Flo's got squad goals.
That's
I mean,
true.
the squad is my squad, so I'm happy to let the squad be it and just love all four of them.
Yeah, but it's really, it's a movement here in Sacramento. I mean, we're all progressives, right? We all had some hearts break really a couple times in the past, a couple election cycles, because our folks, just the forces, the mighty forces of the old party leaders, won't let go.
Particularly here locally, yeah.
And make room, for the progressive movement to flourish as it has room to. So I'm just thankful that there's, it's a change in Sacramento. I'm happy to be a part of that change. Those are my girls, though. Zima, Mai, Katie. When I talk about leaning, we lean on each other.
Yeah.
One thing that I find, one of the things that inspires me about the squad is, and it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of a founding tenet of the squad thing is the pledge to reject taking money from law enforcement, right? Which is kind of what you are. And now you four, did you start the pledge to reject, and now other people are signing on to it, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you kind of run us through what that is and how that works?
It was called SAC Take the Pledge, right?
It's, sactakethepledge.com. And basically we're saying, look, until we show that Black lives truly matter, right? When we're looking at our law enforcement and now there's no accountability, there's no political will, and there's no actual reforms to save Black lives, until that happens, nobody who's running for office should be taking police money, law enforcement money. That includes police, that includes sheriff, that includes corrections, that includes probation. And it's not
corrections.
It includes corrections.
You know who you are.
And, and it's we've seen in our communities. I mean, there was just a couple years ago, Larry Carr, in Larry Carr's district, District 8, I believe, there was the check-in center approval, and there was a ton of folks in the community saying, no, we don't want this prison, this private prison or private corrections company in our community, and it's still passed anyway. And then when we're looking at, well, where are things being given away? Where's the budget going? Where are our concessions being made? And then we're not looking at the bottom line, are people's lives actually getting better? We've got to look at the causes, right? The root causes. And we have to look at who's responsible. When you are an entity that's responsible for people's lives, you're held up to a higher standard. Yeah. And when you're not meeting that higher standard, right, you get fired. Normally we would just get fired, right? But there's so much protection around law enforcement, and what we're seeing being uncovered these days is just astonishing. I mean, Breonna Taylor and the Attorney General and the grand jury, like all that mess, all that noise, all of that needs to be put in check. And the way to put folks in check really is their pocketbook, their donations, their contributions. How brave are you to make the tough choices? And even put your campaign really on the line. I mean, that's what all four of us, have. That is a reality, but it's something that, you know what? We fight the good fight. We cause the good trouble. We're not out to hurt anyone. We're actually trying to save some lives. Flo knows she's in public health. Like, let's save some lives. Let's make people's lives better for once, instead of making it so much worse. So when we're looking at the national social unrest, and we're looking at how, every time there's a march, every time there's a protest, what is it about? It's about white supremacy. It's about law enforcement. It's about that people are not living a life that demonstrates Black Lives Matter. We take to the streets and we take it, to the pocketbook. And folks who've been really brave to take this pledge to not accept law enforcement money, really proud of them. These are a lot of first-time candidates. Yeah. This is not for the faint at heart.
Yeah, I think Assemblymember McCarty's right when he said that too about you four. You're putting targets on your back, or as we saw the CCPOA do, they put a target on an assembly member's face on their commercial, right?
Literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you have to take that threat seriously, right? Like, you can't pretend as if that's like, just for show. Like, you have to take that, like.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also like, I don't know, watching Daryl Steinberg's sort of reaction to, and like resistance to police reform and whatnot, and then being able to match that up, like thanks to the work that Dave and Zach Snark have done, like kind of hunting down like the amount of money that they've taken from various law enforcement agencies. It like I get that this is just how American politics works, but like accepting bribes from people and then doing like the work based on the fact that you took the bribes or whatever, and having people get mad if you won't take a slice and won't take a taste is it's just so nakedly corrupt to me. And and I know that
we
don't call it bribery, and we have like kind of ways that like make people feel better about like politicians taking money from people and then voting in their interests, but at the end of the day, like, that is just bribery. And it is also
First Amendment protects you,
and it shows like it is like almost like a crime syndicate where people like you who like won't take a taste, like the people who are on the inside of that do not like that.
Well, you're right. Like, you think you're better than us?
Well, and it's a message of values, I mean, when I fill out every endorsement, application that says, is there money that you reject? I mean, I've had a list of folks I won't take money from since 2017. My first Democratic Party endorsement form I filled out, I believe it was like December of 2017, and our interview was in January or February. And on my application, I was like, I don't take law enforcement money. I don't take big developer money. I don't take real estate money. I don't take apartment association money. I don't take money from entities that don't match my values and my moral compass.
Amazing.
I mean, like, start diving into that.
Just real quick, I just want to say that attitude and that mindset, like, fixes the American political system. I would say that like 99% of the things that are fucked up about the way that our political system operates are that people don't do that. And it is like super inspiring to me, even like just on like the local level that you guys are at, that you are willing to actually do that, because that is what will change things in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think so too.
If I could dive into the race a little bit.
All right.
So how many seats are open? There are 4 people running currently, right?
Yes. 4 people running, 2 seats.
2 seats open. Okay. When I looked at your, the money you're taking in from folks, it was a lot of, it's mostly women who I know who are politically engaged. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like, yeah, okay. I see she's, giving her a monthly, contribution. So I saw My Vang gave a couple 1 or 2 small contributions. Lily, who runs the county parks commission, she's great.
She's amazing.
Kate Washington, who is
Sexy
awesome.
food writer. Yes.
I love her, but I will never cook for her.
Right?
Terrifying.
Even making snack for her
reviewer.
kids, right?
She's a kingmaker as far as food goes in the region. So that was cool. I like Kate a lot. And then Kevin McCarty, who I mentioned earlier, and he, kind of spoke about in that Cap Radio article that he really supports what it is you four are doing, especially the SAC Take the Pledge thing. Obviously, he's been a person behind a lot of police accountability legislation on the state level. So he gave you a hefty donation.
Yeah, another big win this week.
And then I look at the three other folks running. I don't know two of them very well, so I'll start with them very quickly. Cyril Shaw, who I don't think took any money, but he keeps paying money out somehow in his campaign. And $400 went to the 1849 Foundation, which is a cop organization, which immediately raised my eyebrows. Then there's Spencer Eberly, who took in $2,000 from the CEO of Paladin, the private security company. Not just that, he took in another $3,000 from family members of the CEO. They have the same last name. So $5,000 from Paladin, effectively, which really should raise your eyebrows. I mean, these are people that terrorize our homeless community. They racially profile. They make people's lives hell. Paladin is about as evil as you can get, and as close to a police state without being cops that can actually arrest you as you can get. And then there's our friend Steve. You know my friend Steve, guys?
He's the inspiration of voices.
Maviglio?
Steve Maviglio.
The Mav.
Friend of the show. Friend of
the
everyone.
show.
He actually follows me on Twitter, which is weird.
America's landlord, Steve Maviglio. He's running against you. He is a hard right Democrat. He has been around for ages. He's taken in $1,000 each from a guy named Christopher Garland, who really what I know about Garland is, well, now he works for the governor, right? Is that him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently he doesn't recognize that some of the people that he's calling not elected officials actually are. I mean, he can throw shots at me all he wants to. I don't care. So don't threaten me with recess, nigga. If you want to be real. But apparently he doesn't recognize people who actually are elected officials. So
yeah, especially if you're a woman of color.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about Steve being a little unfit for the job, let's say.
Well, I signed something, so I can't. I'm gonna channel.
We're gonna let your anger translator talk about this then. But
yes,
there was the Sacramento Latino Democratic Club ended up pulling together a candidate forum, interviewing candidates for all these different elected offices.
Yeah.
And asking them pointed questions, and then you give your answer, and then they go together, and then they vote on if they want to endorse you or not, and who they want to endorse.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Steve Maviglio and Tamika went and were interviewed for this. You both gave your answers. Among those answers were, will you agree not to take money from police?
Correct.
And what was the other one that got, it had to do with renters' rights, I believe.
Correct, yes.
Steve Maviglio, America's landlord, not a
huge fan of renters' rights tradition.
Whoa, makes money off of fighting it.
Very much. Not only is he nationally famous for being a complete dick to the guy who saved 85 or so people in DC that were being terrorized by police by letting them into his home,
Right. So just if you haven't heard of this, what Dave's talking about is that there's a guy during the height of the George Floyd protests in D.C. opened his door up to a bunch of people who were being tear gassed and whatnot, and like got them off the street and into safety away from the cops. And Steve went on, I don't know, where did Steve even do? Oh, he went on Twitter.
So a story came out, a national story came out, and Steve responded.
If this guy was really a good Samaritan, he would pay his rent or something like that.
And that was Steve responding to somebody just tweeting the story out, basically, on this national outlet.
Correct. Correct.
Terrible man. Not
great.
only that, Steve once went on Fox 40 to imply that one of Kevin Johnson's accusers, who was 16 when this went down, he implied that she was paid by Deadspin to come forward. The very difficult act of coming forward publicly. Steve is not a good person.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Back
I stand
to this
here
thing.
still as Tamika's anger translator. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also Steve is managing the No on Prop 21 campaign, which is basically
because of course.
Renters' rights throughout the state.
Yeah, this for
because
him is Prop 10 2.0, right?
Right? Because he's professionally wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a job.
He's also a fucking union buster. He's disgusting. He during the state Democratic convention, he was working comms for the C-suite at Verizon as Verizon workers at the Democratic convention were out there marching and picketing in the streets, like vile stuff. It's amazing that someone can call themselves a Democrat.
He really harps on it too. I'm sure you're about to get here, but when people light him up in these Facebook comments, he starts talking about. Let me get to it.
I didn't explain what he did yet. So they ask you these questions, right? They asked Tamika this. They asked Steve this. And one of the questions is, will you or will you not take money from police? Nope. Another one was, thank you, anger translator. The other one was related to, I don't know exactly what the question was, but it was related to renters' rights.
Renters are the best. What's next?
Steve ended up going on a bit of a tangent,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't there, and I did not watch the video,
guy.
but also fuck that guy. And it was very off-putting, right? And the idea was like, well, if I'm running a river flood control district, what the hell does me taking money from cops mean one way or the other, right?
Because fuck that guy.
Because fuck that guy.
Learn to think well. Okay.
Yep.
Maybe it matters because...
it matters.
It matters. It matters because you're talking about a homelessness issue, which is over-policed. It matters because local offices are often a stepstone to higher office, and so we can't ignore your positions on things because we're giving you a platform with which to then bolster your influence. There's so many reasons why. But go off, Steve. Go off. What next?
Yeah. So he answered all of these questions very badly, as one might guess.
Mediocrity at play. Okay, go ahead.
White, mediocre male who we are
even the anger translator has a little bit of do I call it white mediocrity or just call it mediocrity?
I mean, go for it. Yeah,
Dave, you're my white anger.
I'm the white anger translator.
For my black anger. Yeah, please go ahead.
So yeah, this white mediocre male in this time when, across the US, you were seeing all these deeply inspiring women of color taking leadership positions, taking on a deeply corrupt system. Yeah. And he's coming in and saying oh, I think I can do this job better than her.
I can't believe that's your hot take, Steve. Why? Okay.
I believe the response was, well, why not? Anybody can run. And it's so interesting because, here's the thing. It's not just about running. You actually have to care for people. When you are a public servant, when you are making policy,
right,
you have to consider how it affects everybody. And you have to have some sense of Yes, reality, fiscal responsibility, compassion, respect. Like, you need all of that to
Yes.
serve people. And if you're not bringing that with you, who are you there to serve?
The people who are paying you.
Exactly.
Yes. And I think that the Sacramento Latino Democratic Club read that perfectly.
Yeah.
And so they went off, they did their vote, 25 votes, 20 went to you, Tamika, 4 went to Steve, and there was 1 no endorsement. So you walked away with 75% of the vote.
So they said,
They call that a landslide.
we choose us.
Yeah.
That's what they said. We choose us.
And
did I
I'm
get
so
that right?
thankful for that.
Yeah, we the people.
20,
Okay, great. Yeah,
Okay.
that adds up. 24, 1. Yep, you good.
All right. Steve immediately comments on the post. It's disappointing that the LDC doesn't endorse qualified and experienced Democrats that don't pass a litmus test. Very Trump-like. I don't know if you can see it.
You
Yep.
can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is, folks. Is that written
Yeah.
backwards?
Wow,
No.
qualified and
All right, good.
experienced.
Qualified and experienced Democrats.
So first of all, why are you qualified, Steve? Second of all, experienced at what? Exploiting people? And Trump-like? Really? That last 3 words was a phrase, not a statement. So who's Trump-like now, bitch?
Total piece of shit move. And
Right?
again, thank you for the anger translation.
Yeah, this is working for me, honestly.
It's working for me, too.
Yeah, it's doing it for me. Let's keep that
Well,
rolling.
the things I can't say,
Yeah.
but you know, it's but you know, and that's the thing. Also, I didn't have to say anything
Yeah.
because people show you who they are. Do
Right.
you choose to see it? Is the question.
Right.
Folks didn't choose to see it in 2016 and earlier this year.
And
and
we
right
hope
now,
we hope they're choosing to see it now, but
but
I
you
don't
gotta
know if
see.
it's choosing though, Tamika. Like sometimes I think it's also just people have full rich lives, right? And like trying to keep up with everything that's happening is hard. And so you miss out on something and you're like, who's this person? Oh, okay, I've heard that name. Like, I don't know that people are actually actively choosing against their own interests. I think sometimes they're operating out of the thing they're shortest on is time. And so like, what do I know? Who's going to give me the inside scoop? How do I figure it all out? Like, I shudder to think of some of the votes that I probably issued when I was in college in Georgia, because I was in Georgia and I knew, maybe the mayoral candidate, but I didn't know who was running for city council, and I didn't know all the deep cuts of what was happening in, Cobb County or DeKalb County politics, right? And I was trying to make the best decision that I could. And so not because it's all about me, but just like, I think back to that and I offer a certain sense of empathy and grace to people, because it's hard to keep up with this. And I think there's an intentional lack of transparency. And it's really difficult, especially if you're following mainstream media. You don't even know who the mainstream places to go, or they don't exist in wherever you live. Like, people are trying their best. And I think if the more that things like the conversations like this can happen,
Absolutely.
the better informed everyone is and the better decisions I think we can make.
Absolutely. And different groups, that's why these endorsements are so important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'll speak just for me. I put so much of my heart, I put so much work into every endorsement form. I try to be really thoughtful because it's important. We have to really show that we're going to be as thoughtful, while running as we are as servants while serving. And when you go and seek an endorsement, well, at least when I go and seek an endorsement, it's going to be from someone, again, who matches my values. And, we share, a pretty similar, level, moral compass. And so I think that the Latino Dems were spot on. And again, I didn't need to say anything because he said it. But these endorsements are important and voter guides are important because, like Flo said, where are people going to get the information about these candidates? You are being blasted with noise, on whatever news, if you watch TV news. This is my news. I'm always scrolling. Just because I have to get little bits of information in quickly. But what?
Sorry, keep going. If you've got more.
I got one more. But these endorsements, they mean a lot because these are trusted groups. The Latino Democratic Club is a very established group in Sacramento. Like, to get their endorsement is huge, and it's an honor. It's not something to take for granted, and it's not something to criticize for when you don't get your way.
Right.
I think it seems like an appropriate group of people to compare to Trump if it goes the way you don't want it to go.
Right, exactly. I mean, just like the audacity of that
cool.
from a guy like him, it's incredible. And I think you're all correct. It's like there's not much to say about it. I think we all can see it on its face. Like, Steve, you're a piece of shit.
Also an idiot. Isn't this dude like a professional campaigner? Like, isn't this like, he gets paid to do this shit, and he's been doing it for like decades, it seems like, from what I can see, and then he's gonna go on fucking Facebook and get into a fucking beef with the Latino Democrats? What the fuck are you doing? Even I know better than that, and I don't do shit.
But that's what he does. I mean, when he was firing at Katie and Tamika and others on Facebook, on Twitter, like, that's what he does. And the thing is, if Tamika fired back, I mean, she's being her anger translator, I can say this out loud. Like, Tamika can't fire back because she's a Black woman. And because even though he fired at her first, even though he was completely out of pocket, and even though she's well within her right to be able to fire back, she's going to be the angry Black woman who's unprofessional and unqualified for her position. And it's going to be, both of them don't have any, sense and can't engage in a reasonable and thoughtful debate, right? It's not going to be, gosh, this guy really came at and, bullied her and in some ways was completely inappropriate, and she responded in kind, right? Like, that's not how it's going to be framed. Right. And so he gets to do this because that's how racism works, and everybody else is sort of paralyzed into silence because that's how racism works.
Yep, especially in politics when you're running for office.
Yeah. So to finish sort of the story, okay, I'll finish the storyline on this part. Steve immediately edited his comment to be like, it's unfortunate you decided not to pick me, blah, blah, blah. He didn't apologize once on the thread. People came at him for his audacity on this thread. Mostly folks who were members of the SAC Latino Democratic Club, but also Amar Singh Shergill, who is the chair of the Progressive Caucus of the California Democrats. Which I think, to me, I'd like to sort of discuss these two sort of spaces in the Democratic Party, but also, like, on our way into that, you've been, Tamika, endorsed by a couple orgs, right? Have you been endorsed by the County Dems?
Yes, the County Dems, the Sunrise Sacramento, the Harry S. Truman Democratic Club, and yes, the Latino Democratic Club. And I'll have my Black Women Organized for Political Action endorsement hopefully tomorrow.
We'll see. Nobody knows yet.
It could go either way. They might go with Steve.
So yeah, I mean, these are important endorsements.
They're very important.
Steve did get one endorsement.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you all heard about this? His endorsement?
Yeah.
From the newly formed Democratic
Alliance, Sacramento Democratic Alliance.
Yes,
the
SDA.
SAC-Dem Alliance. They have a line, I believe.
You know you're ridiculous when you have to make up your own group just to get a Democratic endorsement.
They have like a whopping 43 likes on Facebook. They don't even have a Twitter account.
Everybody knows they're like a bullshit ass front.
It's totally
it's an open fucking thing.
are 20 likes from newly created accounts that were created to specifically like this account. You're hilarious. And then the other 23 are your family.
It's so whack, dude. And they do that Democrat
and you asked 100
thing.
family members, they don't even like you that much.
They're doing that thing that fucking Daryl's trying to do with Measure A too, where they just use like stock photos from like the first page. If you just Google like diversity photos stock, like the first page, it will show up, and fucking Daryl Measure A's got that on it, and this fucking the SDA page has that too, bunch of different colored fists up in the air, ready to work together. It's like Google, dude, it's so fucking cynical.
Google black guy holding a white sign in crowd of people, and it's the Sacramento Democratic Alliance.
That's it.
But
That's
without
the
logo.
It's like, wow.
And
I didn't know that picture was in Sacramento.
It's so cynical.
And the thing is, like, I mean, I'm an elected delegate with the California Democratic Party. I'm a member of the county party. I'm Kevin McCarty's alternate. Like, my grandma's DNC card is here somewhere in my office. Like, my mom worked for the Dukakis campaign. Like, we're Democrats, right? But
so
when you are taking saying Democrat and nothing of your values even matches the platform of the Democratic Party, like, why are they even able to use that? It's so deceptive. It's deceptive.
It's super gross. Yeah.
It's gross.
So if you look at like the who is, you can like look up who owns a site. It's totally blocked. You have to pay extra to do that. There's no about us on the website for this alliance, the SACDEM alliance. Like, it's obviously an AstroTurf move. We mentioned this a couple episodes ago. A listener found the paperwork and sent it out to us. This SACDEM alliance was created by the guys who run Townsend, Culkin, and Tapio Public Affairs. And I don't know if you know that group, but it's a bunch of like really older mod right-wing Democrats that have been along forever. So you look at this group, and they're obviously, supported by Steve Maviglio as well. These are your classic pale, male, and stale, conservative, old school Democrats, right? And you look at who they're endorsing, and it's the old guard, mostly male, I would assume stale and probably pale as well. Did I already say pale? It's white and white.
Alabaster and ecru, thank you.
Ivory.
I think Cooper was on there.
Oh yeah. Well, Cooper the cop, of course. Yeah. But these are people, these are guys that really, really do not want to see real change. They don't want a Democratic Party that represents everyone. And they are, for whatever reason, threatened by a Katie Valenzuela, a Mai Vang, and a Tamika.
Yeah, we must be doing something right, huh?
Elliot.
Yeah, I guess that's all I had to say about that.
Yeah.
I mean, as the anger translator, I'm just like
speechless, apparently.
What he said. There's really nothing else to say except what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
and I just hope, when you see your friend go down the wrong path, give him a call. Call your friends.
If any of our listeners are friends of Steve Maviglio. I have friends in journalism that are like, I think you'd like him if you met him. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not gonna hang out with Steve fucking Maviglio.
I'll hang out with him. Where are we hanging, Steve? You call the place, man. I'll show up with the White Claws.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I can practically work with anybody. I've had a lot. I mean, I told you I was a bartender for 10 years. Like, I can work with anyone. But I think right now, this is a good moment if you see someone, especially, a woman of color who is now has a chance, take a seat for a minute and think about, do you really need to challenge that? And who are you challenging it for? Is it for your own ego, or, do you actually, do you really want this? Do you really want this because you want to make Sacramento better? Do you want to help make people's lives better? Or are you just doing it to satisfy your ego? I'm not doing this to satisfy my ego. I love Sacramento. I love flood control. I love it so much that I enrolled in August back into school, and I am studying public service and public policy with a focus on sustainability, and then getting my minor in urban planning, because I want to keep doing this. People don't look like me in flood control, right? They don't look like me in these circles. Special districts, folks normally, you just keep rolling over. Nobody runs against you, or maybe one person, and that's it. Like these are like sleeper boards and commissions, but really, we have to pay more attention to what's going on down the ballot, because we can't just go by, a name that we see, in the newspaper all the time, because they're the spokesperson, for a campaign that's spending a lot of money to kick you out your apartment. We have to.
What conversations aren't being had on those boards when they don't have, proper representation? I wonder. I've been on those boards. It sucks.
Yeah. And so, and that's another reason why it's also really important for us to move to by-district elections. I mean, we're all at large. I don't serve or represent or get voted in by just one group. Right. I get voted in by 114,000 voters here in our district. So, there's a wave, a progressive wave. It's like I don't know, it's like an indigo, like it's a really deep blue, almost purple, like down in the blue wave that's happening. It's a progressive wave. It's a diverse wave. It's women, it's LGBTQ, it's different abilities, it's everything. There's a wave of us coming. And I think that this election is going to be really telling for some of those folks who felt the need to resist against this indigo wave. And maybe they'll have a seat. Take a seat.
Yeah.
Take a seat and watch. And maybe even support us. Like, what if these old timers over here on the right, these old timers. Tamika. What if they just said, you know what?
Translate. We need a translation.
Let's trust you for a minute. What if?
Tamika, no, not old timers.
The words I can't
what she
say. Democrat in name only.
Sure.
Dino. Yeah. I mean, I think we have to be really honest in California about the fact that, like, there are people, it's the same way in Texas, right? Where you register as Republican, but you really are a Democrat because that's a politically viable thing to do. And the same thing is true in California, where you register as a Democrat, but you're really a Republican because that's the politically viable thing to do, right? Like,
or you are a leftist and you register as a Democrat because it's the politically viable thing to do.
Correct. Exactly. Right. Like, all of those exist, right? So you just kind of have to, like,
Yeah, my husband, like, he had to register Democrat to vote for me in 2018. I was like, would you please? And he did not want to. He was like, I don't want that. he doesn't. He's not in the politics like I am. But he's like, we need 15 parties. We need 15. Like, we need a labor. We need everything.
Come on.
Do it.
5, and I'd be happy to get to 3. So
right. Oh man.
Guys, speaking
I'm a Democrat by force only or something. I don't know. I just I feel like I get like bullied every year into like not leaving the party.
I can't. It's all I've known my whole time. I mean, like I said, my grandma, my mom, they've been in the party. They've been a part of all this for a while now. I mean, my grandma and grandpa, did the march on Washington. Like, they were there. So it's in my blood. Something's in my blood. It's not a cider. we should wrap.
Well, yeah, guys, I was gonna say.
I'm
Speaking
getting
of
to my antsy time. I'm getting more energy.
Maybe we should start the show now.
No, we're getting close to your hour. Your witching
This is
hour.
my hour. Hour and 30 minutes.
Skylar's
11
trying so
o'clock.
hard to hop in.
Meanwhile, Shannon is usually on the show, and by this point, she's like,
Asleep, yeah. I texted Skylar one-on-one. I'm like, dude, just hop in whenever feels right. He's like, dude,
no. Let's do this for another couple hours. Please. What else you guys want to talk about?
No, because then I start going. No, good stuff. I just, Kamala and Mike Pence are going to be debating next week, though. I'm making popcorn.
Hell yeah.
You're trying to get us to talk more to me.
Sorry. I got to look forward to something.
Dave, if I wanted to find more of this great Voices content, where would I go?
Well, you've never been so straightforward with me, Skylar.
Don't mince words either. Just get right to it.
I won't. No, here it is. I would go to voicesrivercity.com.
Love it.
There are many things there. News, arts, the Sack Follows the Money project. I'm going to be up all night uploading Sack Snark's fucking spreadsheets because he won't stop texting me about it. So I'm just going to do it all tonight, and you can all read this once this episode comes out. But there are a lot of races that he's done a lot of work on, so I'm really excited about that. We, of course, have the current iteration of the podcast. I believe we're on like episode 95.
95.
That's wild. So that's very exciting. Last month we had around 2,200 downloads, as well as 1,000 views on YouTube. We're on YouTube, Voices River City. We're on Twitter at Voices River City, Instagram at Voices River City. It's very funny. We're on Facebook, Voices River City. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/Voices River City, and you can pledge $5, $10, or $25 a month. $25 a month will get you a t-shirt and a mug. $5 will just make me love you a lot. And, I love you. What else? I'm on Twitter at Kempa, YOUKNOWKEMPA.
You can find me at Guillotine for You. That's Guillotine, the number 4, YOU.
and I am at Flojaune, FLOJAUNE, and Shannon is at Shan and D Stevens.
Feel better, Shannon. We love you.
Shannon.
Feel better. And Tamika, how can we find you online?
Twitter, Tamika916, Facebook, I think it's just Tamika L'Ecluse. And then TamikaLecluse.com. If you want to email me, Tamika at TamikaLecluse.com. Or if you see me on the street, say, hey, Tamika! And I'll talk to you.
She does. She will talk to you. It's nice.
Yeah, for a while. I'll pick you up at the bus stop and take you where you're trying to go.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, this was a real pleasure. Thank you for coming on
No,
the show.
thank you for having me. It was good. It was good times. And now I'm ready for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
this
it's
is
a
where we
joy.
start getting the makeup on and doing our hair, put our
right.
earrings in.
Go out and party in the living room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope.
Dance
Nope.
party in the living room.
Nope.
And then wake up at 6 a.m. and be mom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
and
lay
then
it down.
You'll
all
have the
enjoy
episode
it.
by 9 a.m. in your
Yeah.
inbox.
I'll be awake.
It says, assuming we can get Skylar on this within the next few hours, unless we talk for the next 3.
I know. All right, let's say goodnight.
But no, again, thank you. I'm excited about your race for this position. I think it's the fact that Steve jumped into this race. I'm sorry if we talked a little too much about him, but I think it's indicative about kind of the 2 lanes that are forming within the party, and I think it's important for us to sort of hash that out sometimes. So once again, just thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to continuing to serve on the American River Flood Control District. I hope you vote November 3rd for Tamika L'Ecluse, and which is interesting. A L'Ecluse is some sort of levee water barrier in France. I found that out.
You were
last year
born
when we went
into
there.
this.
I was born to manage flooding.
You know what? I should. A kempa is.
It's my married name.
A kempa in Polish is a grouping of plants, so I should get into forestry.
You should.
Yeah.
Yes, and rake the forests, Kempa. Rake them and sweep them.
That's what I'll do. I'll become
I feel like there's some good campaign material to be mined from seizing like a brown recluse kind of a thing.
a spider.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
The brown recluse.
The 2 times I played pool, I called myself the brown recluse.
Aren't those really poisonous?
Yeah, yeah.
But the other way to frame it is that they're not to be fucked with.
Not to be fucked with. That was exactly it. And so I was trying to intimidate people because I have no skills at playing pool. And so I figured I have great skills at shit talking. And so I could possibly intimidate my opponents.
So not quite a Black Widow, but
not quite a Black Widow. Yeah, exactly. I was like, this is where I am in your mental game. I was like, the Black Widow. You're gonna have to Google the brown recluse.
Hell yeah. Love it.
I love it.
Guys, we also, if you are still listening to this, we love you too. We hope that you will stay safe.
Stay sane.
Stay healthy.
Wear a mask.
And stay the fuck away from me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And wear a mask.
And wear a mask, please.
And wear a mask.
All
right.
Spray with Lysol.
Let's get the hell out of here.
I'm calling it. We're done.
Bye.
Bye. Tamika, stick with us.
So just so I'm 100% clear, we are going to vote for Tamika, not Steve.
Yes, just so we're clear.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to, I made it clear.
Yeah.